The time is 6:31. I will now call the September 18th, 2024 meeting of the Common Council of the City of Lawrence to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a prayer. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, thank you for every seat that has been filled here today, for each mind and heart that feels the presence of this room. We thank you. Only you truly know what we are setting out to accomplish today. We have an idea, a vision, hints, and daily instructions. We have talents, abilities, and time to work. However, only you can see in perfect detail the end of every beginning, every project, every season, every life. Nothing is ever in vain. For even mistakes and missteps are used for good. Amen.
Amen.
Roll call. We have 8 counselors. One, is she on Teams? I don't see her. Okay, we have 8 counselors. We do have a quorum. Let the record reflect that we do have a quorum. This meeting has been properly noticed in accordance with the Indiana Open Door Law. Copies of the agenda are located in the back of the meeting room. Also, for any citizens wishing to speak under citizens' comments later in the agenda, please sign in using the sign-in sheet located in the back of the meeting room. Do we have any comments of the council members, special recognitions?
Madam President, I have about 6 here. I wanted to know if the city of Lawrence is going to be following the Marion County burning dry branches, twigs on property only between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. in a non-combustible container venting with a mesh covering. I know Indianapolis is doing it, and they said Marion County, and I just wanted to know if the city of Lawrence was included in that. And number 2, the technology upgrades will be awesome to have these upgrades finally, and I appreciate Jared for sharing the information with the council by Viva email. And thanks to the administration for pulling out IT out of the mold basement. I know they appreciate that. And then the other one, any economic development for Ivy Tech or the former building of Monarch Beverage, it looks like the grass is getting a bit tall with no tenants in that building. And I had 12 questions. The controller, Humphrey, responded to all of my questions for the bills that were sent out on 9/11. And one of my constituents called me, and are there any senior activities sponsored by the City of Lawrence Parks Department, like seniors for over 60 years of age? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. Any other comments?
Madam President.
Yes.
Something that came to my attention, I believe it was last week, 2 constituents that have been in Lawrence businesses, that's been in Lawrence for a really long time, is Coron Mobile Home and Funtime Campers, both on Pendleton Pike. And I visited Funtime. Actually, I was looking for a part for my RV, and got talking about this median situation that the city did on Pendleton Pike, and the hardship that this median has incurred to these 2 businesses is just unimaginable. And if anybody's ever pulled a camping trailer that 8 foot wide and some 38, 40 foot long, the plan, I guess, is to make a U-turn. Well, you're not going to make a U-turn on Pendleton Pike pulling a trailer that long. especially if you got an 8-foot bed pickup truck. And then with Corons, you're looking at a mobile home that's 16 feet wide, a lot of them 80 feet long. And their only recourse is to, I guess, go down Midhofer and try to get back onto Pendleton Pike going down through Midhofer, which that's a very narrow road to be pulling, a trailer of that size. I looked at this situation and talked to both parties, and it looks to be that if there was a cut on the median on Barker Lane or to access Barker Lane, that would facilitate both of these businesses and would resolve this problem. And I think that the City of Lawrence really needs to try to find some cooperation with the state. And because I don't think we want to be that detrimental to businesses that have been here in the City of Lawrence since, I think, back in the 60s. I have reached out to our state senator, and I spoke to his assistant a couple of days ago, and she assured me he would be back in touch with me, but I'm also waiting on a phone call still from DPW to see if any of this ground that, I guess, in the direction I'm going, that may have already been covered by DPW, if anything. So I would sincerely appreciate a call from the DPW director and see if we can't, utilize our lobbyist that we've retained, or, try to do something other than just sit back and say, well, state did it and that's the way it is. So anyhow, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other
Madam
comments? Yes.
Yes. First, I want to thank DPW or the city of Indianapolis, maybe the state. I'm not exactly sure who was all involved with the repairs on Shadeland, just north of 46th Street. It's been a great job, and we're very thankful for that. I have one caveat with that. As they continue the work, the right lane, many of their trucks they cone off the right lane and they're putting their trucks in the right lane. Well, what that's causing is we've had some near misses in accidents when you're trying to pull out from the neighborhood onto Shadeland and the cars are coming out a little hot, coming off the interstate, and you got to ease out there to see around a big truck. And so there was a line the other day of several of them. So just wanted them to be mindful that we're happy about the work that's being done in the community, but we just want them to be mindful of the safety of the neighbors in the community while they're conducting the much needed work that we much appreciate in the district.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other comments? We will now have the approval of minutes of the meeting for September the 3rd, 2024. Are there any questions or corrections to the minutes of the meeting for September the 3rd, 2024? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Counselor. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Counselor. Will there be any further discussion? We will now proceed to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. We have one on Teams. Do I still have to do a roll call?
Yep.
She's on Teams. Okay, we have one counselor on Teams, so we need to do a roll call. She there?
She's.
Okay, Counselor Giles?
She has to be visible to vote, though, right?
Yes, she does need to be visible.
And she's not. There
She's
she
not.
is.
Can you see now?
Okay, she's there.
Okay. Aye.
Counselor Wells? Counselor Wells?
I'm sorry, yes.
Counselor Chavis?
Yes.
Counselor Kramer?
Yes.
Robinson, Counselor Robinson, yes. Counselor Jennings?
Aye.
Counselor Freeman?
Yes.
Counselor Crum?
Yes.
Counselor Masur?
Yes.
Thank you. It's unanimous. Next, we have the approval of claims and authorizations of payment. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers.
Thank you, Counselor. Second? Second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Counselor Jennings. We will now proceed to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Madam President, I'm going to abstain.
You abstain? Okay. One abstain. We'll have to take an individual vote. Counselor Giles,
Yes.
Counselor Wells,
Abstain.
Counselor Chavis,
Yes.
Counselor Kramer,
Yes.
Counselor Robinson, yes. Counselor Jennings,
Aye.
Counselor Freeman,
Yes.
Counselor Cron,
Yes.
Counselor Masur.
Yes.
He's not.
She's not visible.
She's not visible.
Really?
No, you are.
Hello?
It's just we're not.
Yeah.
No, you are. We're good.
Now, your vote again?
Yes.
Thank you. We will now have reports of the committee. I, as Chair of the Council Committee of the Whole, have a report from that committee. The Committee of the Whole met on September the 5th, 2024, and recommended a favorable recommendation for Resolution Number 7. Are there any other reports? Okay. We vote on that one? We have to, okay. The next agenda item is unfinished business, Resolution Number 7. Madam Clerk, would you please read the title of the resolution into record?
Resolution number 7, 2024, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Lawrence, Indiana concerning retention of Baker Tilly Municipal Advisors, LLC as municipal advisor.
Thank you, Counselor. This resolution was introduced at our September 3rd, 2024 meeting. The Committee of the Whole met on September the 5th, 2024, and recommended a favorable recommendation for Resolution Number 7, 2024. Any questions, counselors?
I have two questions.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Counselor.
Are there funds already in the budget to cover the expenses in the 2024 budget for this contract? Or will this be included in an appropriation request? So, two questions.
Counselor, Controller.
Good evening, members. So one of the resolutions that you have before you today is a fund transfer request, and that's the intention, one of the intentions for that is to cover those.
Okay, so it's not in the budget, but it's part of the appropriation
That's
request.
correct.
Thank you.
Humphrey, I have a question too. If I may, Madam President?
Is this pertaining to Resolution Number 7?
It is.
Okay.
I see that we've got the monthly report for June given to us, and I forgot to ask when we were talking about this before, can we, with the added help from the Baker Tilly, can we expect that these monthly reports will now be prompt and on time for the rest of the year?
Right, so I did send out an email to all council members a couple weeks ago stating the reasons why they had not been updated and what the corrective action plan is going forward. That has since been effected. The monthly financials that you see before you are as of June 30, 2024, which is the basis of what we used for the projections of the 2025 budget. They also have been uploaded, published on the website up until June 2024, and we intend to continue month after month.
And I see there is a resolution here for appropriations for this year, additional appropriations
This is
for
not.
this year.
Counselor, is this pertaining to Resolution Number 7?
I'm sorry, you're right. Well, it kind of did, but that's all right. I'll get to that when we get to the,
Thank you.
to that resolution.
Thank you. Do we have a motion for resolution number 7,
So move.
2020? Thank you, councilors. Can we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Counselor. All those, any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. We will need to do it individual.
Aye.
Thank you.
I believe in this one.
Counselor Wells.
Aye.
Thank you. Counselor Chafin.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Counselor Robinson, yes. Jennings.
Aye.
Thank you. Counselor Freeman.
Yes.
Thank you, Counselor Crone.
Yes.
Thank you, Counselor Masur.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is new business. And we will have a statement from Mayor Deborah Whitfield. Is she here?
You'll sit right there.
Okay, I didn't see you. Thank you, thank you. Councilors, we will refrain from asking questions of the mayor during this time, but if you have a question, please write your questions down, send them through email to Leandre so that you get a response to your question, okay? Thank you, Mayor. Please.
Thank you. Good evening, councilors, Lawrence community members, City of Lawrence employees. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you tonight as you begin deliberation of our 2025 proposed budget, the first annual budget created by my administration. At just over $28 million, the 2025 proposed budget is balanced, demonstrating that the fiscal discipline of our taxpayers deserve while also making important investment in quality of life for all residents and maintaining a robust fiscal reserve to safeguard our city's future. Developing the annual budget is the most important responsibility for any mayor. But like almost everything we do in government, it can't be done alone. The 2025 proposed budget is a product of a lot of hard work on the part of many people, including councilors themselves. So let me begin tonight by expressing my gratitude to you, the members of the Lawrence Common Council, for your input and participation in our budget workshops over the past several weeks. Your contribution to the budget planning process are very much appreciated. I also want to publicly acknowledge the diligent and dedicated work of our City Controller, Mr. Humphrey Nagala, our Chief of Staff, Mr. Zach Brown, City of Lawrence Corporation Counsel, Ms. Amber Finley, and all the members of my administration who worked so hard throughout the budget process. Each of us, from members of council to myself as mayor, to our City of Lawrence staffers, do this work in service of others. We do what we do in hope and belief that we are making life better for our neighbors in Lawrence community. A city's annual budget is our primary way of fulfilling that hope. It is how we grow Lawrence as a community of opportunity. An opportunity cannot flourish without safety. That's why the 2025 budget proposal includes significant investments in our City of Lawrence police and fire departments, led by my distinguished public servants, Police Chief Curtis Bigsby and Fire Chief Bob Wallace. The proposed budget reflects the commitment of my administration made in the recent completed collective bargaining agreement with our police and fire union. These agreements reached throughout constructive collaboration between my administration and the unions representing our city's brave first responders in a process I'm proud to say both union presidents have called the most open, fair negotiations that they've been part of. the collective bargaining agreement, which you'll take up later this afternoon, have something to offer members of our police and fire departments at every level. They locked in competitive pay for our police and firefighters, secured annual pay increases for them over the next 4 years, and most importantly, they were unanimously adopted by rank and file members of both the police and firefighter unions. As our community continues to grow and diversify, the demands on our public safety agencies continue to grow in volume and complexity. To respond to those demands, the 2025 budget includes funds for more training and updated equipment for our public safety personnel, so visitors and residents in Lawrence can be assured that our first responders have both the supplies and the skills required to meet the public needs at a moment's notice. In the same way that opportunity cannot flourish without safety, I believe a community cannot flourish without connection. For the city of Lawrence to continue to grow as a community of opportunity, we must continue to foster connections between and among our residents and across our neighborhoods. To support that effort, the 2025 budget proposal invests in growing numbers of community events hosted by the city. Community response to our public events in Lawrence throughout 2024 has been tremendous. From our incredible experience of the 2024 solar eclipse at Community Park to last weekend's fantastic Barbecue and Blues at the Culture Campus, the first Barbecue and Blues hosted outside of the Fort Harrison State Park, so it was completely free to attend. Lawrence residents keep making it clear that our people believe in getting together and getting down. Of course, our events draw people from well beyond the city of Lawrence, a trend that only increases and will increase when the Indigo Purple Line begins operations next month. To keep building on the enthusiasm at our public events and grow our community connection, we'll continue adding partnerships and events like our first Starry Night film at the Fort event last week with our partners from Heartland Film Festival. So throughout the 2025 proposed budget, it reflects that commitment. It also reflects my administration's commitment to places these community events happen. Our City of Lawrence parks. Included in the 2025 proposed budget is funding for a new playground and shelter at the soccer park, and a refresh of our Community Activity Center on Franklin Road. We'll also continue to pursue opportunities like that with our current collaboration with the skate park Respect and Casper Jones, which has completely transformed the Lawrence Skate Park inside Community Park. Partnerships like the one with Indy Urban Wilderness, which helped secured a total of $7 million to extend the Fall Creek Greenway through the city of Lawrence. These partnerships help stretch limited government resources to create public amenities, which we could not afford to build on our own. I've asked my staff and every department head in the city to redouble their efforts to develop these kinds of innovative collaborations to allow us to provide more and better opportunities for the community connection. As I mentioned before, the Purple Line will expand opportunities for connection and growth within Lawrence. Rapid transit routes like the Purple Line are often significant drivers of economic development. And while I look forward to seeing what kind of impact the Purple Line will have on our community, my administration isn't sitting back waiting for development to come to Lawrence. In 2025, we'll continue our effort to attract more large-scale development to the area but will also be taking steps to boost economic growth in existing Lawrence businesses. Throughout 2024, members of my staff have been working on a complete overhaul of our city's recreation and tourism website. Visit lawrenceindy.com. The refreshed website, sets to launch early next year, will include updated dining and event guides for all the great places to eat and have fun and things to do with our city. Our way of marketing and promoting our local merchants and vendors at no cost to them. Because to thrive, the city of Lawrence needs to be a community of business opportunities too. Underneath all this opportunity, literally and figuratively, is our City Department of Public Works. The 2025 proposed budget funds DPW ongoing effort to replace crumbling sidewalks, resurface as many local streets as rising costs allows, and continue improving our stormwater system. We're fortunate to have a new DPW director on board to help address these challenges. But we equally are lucky to have several department heads from previous administration who accepted my invitation to stay on in their jobs when I became mayor. Could our chiefs and department heads please stand? These are the people who make sure that the city of Lawrence is open for business 365 days a year, because they understand that our businesses is caring for our residents. Thank you. As you can see, the Whitfield administration is a bipartisan group of talented people, some new to Lawrence, some with decades of experience and institutional knowledge, who show up every day to make this city a better place for their neighbors. To help retain this wonderful team, the 2025 proposed budget includes a 3% pay increase for all City of Lawrence civil employees. So, as you review this balanced budget proposal, I hope that you'll see what I see: a view of the city of Lawrence as a community of opportunity for all. A community that draws strength from its diversity and take pride in caring for one another, no matter our differences. After all, we're investing in the well-being of those who choose to live, work, and play in the city of Lawrence. This is a best investment of our government that we can make. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mayor. Next, under new business, we will have resolution number 8, 2024. Madam Clerk, would you please read the title of the resolution into the record?
Resolution number 8, 2024, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Lawrence, Indiana, concerning approval of collective bargaining agreement between the City of Lawrence and the Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge 159, effective January 1, 2025.
I understand that Chief of Staff Zach Brown, together with union representatives from Lawrence Police leadership, are here to make a presentation on this proposal to the full council. Chief of Staff Zach Brown.
Thank you, President Robinson. Hello, councilors. My name is Zachary Brown. I reside at 11827 Rossmore Drive here in Lawrence, and I serve as the Mayor's Chief of Staff. I'm extremely happy to be here before you tonight to speak on the contract agreement between the Whitfield administration and our brave men and women of the Lawrence FOP. This contract was shared with you, the members of Lawrence Common Council, via email last week. After a negotiation process where we worked in concert with the union representatives of the FOP on things such as pay, benefits, and other services, I am happy to report that we have come to an agreement which has also been passed unanimously by the voting members of the Fraternal Order of Police. As we know, recruitment and retention of our officers is critically important to the safety of our city. We also know departments around the country are struggling with this very issue. We in the Whitfield administration believe this contract makes positive progress towards remedying this problem in our city and sets us on a trajectory where we will be able to continue to retain our officers and keep a level of staffing in Lawrence that will serve our city well. This contract grants a pay raise of 5% in 2025 with successive 3% pay raises in 2026, 2027, and 2028 to our officers in the Lawrence Police Department. We also made updates to how accrued time can be banked and used, how technical and specialty positions within the department are compensated, and how mental health services are provided to our officers. As I stated, the Whitfield administration is proud to present this contract to the council for full approval. And with that, I'd like to now introduce FOP Union President, Sergeant Brandon Rafter.
Madam President and councilors, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Brandon Raftery, and I'm the president of Lawrence Fraternal Order of Police, representing the fine men and women of the Lawrence Police Department. I think as you review this contract that you will see that it is certainly something that we are proud of. I want to start off by thanking Mayor Whitfield and her staff through this process, which I would describe as very transparent and more of a collaborative effort in which something that very rarely happens in Marion County, the local 416, so the fire department and the police department, both unions collaborated together to come up with goals on how to move our public safety forward in the terms of a contract. We negotiated jointly with the mayor and her staff in this collaborative effort, which I found to be very productive. With that being said, just as it's been mentioned several times this evening, one of our main goals of this contract is to address not only the local, but the national issue with recruitment and retention of police officers. It's very easy to see an article or a news story. You can look at our brothers and sisters at the IMPD who are down substantially and struggling to recruit. So certainly you will see that the focus not only encompasses and addresses everybody from the new recruit to the veteran officer looking at people that are looking to retire, but it also provides competitive benefits that will allow us, with the term of this contract, to be competitive with these other agencies, which should address any issues with recruitment, retention, so that we're ensuring that we're just not filling positions as we have vacancies, but we're putting qualified members of the community in these positions. I think this contract does just that. So I stand before you this evening asking for your support and your vote in the approval of this contract. I believe that it is a substantial and important investment in public safety in the city of Lawrence. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
are you assigning this to committee?
Well, we can. We can, because next on the list is
Madam
to.
Don't have to be assigned.
I would,
Next on the list
I'm
is
talking to the president, right?
well,
You're the president
next is
of the
to
council.
proceed. I'm saying, Counselor, next is to proceed with questions and comments.
I asked a question related to the resolution. I don't, so that I can review, I'm asking, are we going to put this in committee so that I can address and ask questions and clarity related to the contract?
We were going to make a motion for the resolution.
I've never made a motion to put something in committee.
No, you didn't. No, to answer your question directly, no, it was not going to a committee.
So I'm just going to make this statement. I mean, this is unprecedented. This is a major contract that needs to be considered along with the budget because it has budget impacts. I will not be voting if there is a motion made, not because I don't support it, but because I want the opportunity, and I think we owe that to ourselves as council members, to our constituents, and to the community. The administration and police and fire have had months to discuss this contract and to negotiate, and to rob any council member of the opportunity of a meeting is just, it shouldn't be stood for. And no one should expect us to do that after allowing everyone to have time to have dialogue. You've gone back and forth for months. And to come to this council, not even present the contract, the people don't even get to see the contract. It's ridiculous. And I hope that my fellow councilors have not colluded to make a decision to support this without giving every single councilor and your constituents the opportunity to even hear what's in it. And that's all I have to say on the matter.
Madam President, if I may, I certainly wouldn't want to step on your prerogative to how you'd like to run this meeting, but we are prepared to answer questions this evening. And I do just want to make it clear that we provided this contract to the full council last week for their review.
For review, but not discussion.
We've received questions from other councilors that we've addressed and we're willing to address again. I understand your position, and I wouldn't want to rob you of this opportunity whatsoever. But I just wanted to make that clear for the record. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything is always presented to us in advance. But we also have, as a body, have a meeting, discussion, no citizen input. We're not even given opportunity for anybody to ask a question. That's not only unfair to this council, it's unfair to the constituents.
We have standing committees, Finance Committee, Public Safety Committee, to discuss these sorts of deals. One of the things I want to learn about that I read in my review, but I want to learn more about the vacation. Because before you guys got here, we changed the vacation so we wouldn't have the rollovers, so that the city wouldn't be indebted. So that was a big deal I was a part of. So I'm not saying I'm against the change. I wanted to get I want to know where your mind was to where we're going to, why we're doing this, and how 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we're not in the same position where we were looking at putting money, locking it up, putting it in to ensure that folks have their retirement. And one of the things we stopped was rolling over the days. So I may be speaking out of turn, but right now my belief is we're rolling stuff over. I need a better understanding of the Kelly days, right? All this stuff plays into the responsibility of the council. The other thing I keep reminding the council, this budget is proposed by the administration, but it's supposed we are the fiscal body. It is our budget. And that's what I've been dealing with for 3 years in this city, for those who've been paying attention. Is it my budget, or are we signing off? Is it our budget up here, or are we signing off on what is just proposed without digging through? And that's all I'm asking. I'm not saying I'm against anything. I just want due diligence so that 2 years from now, 6 years from now, everything was thorough, everything was out, because the collective bargaining agreement is important. Labor is the most expensive thing. 75% of the budget, according to this, is public safety. I would imagine that a significant portion of that 75% is labor cost. Not just equipment costs, but labor costs, right? And so I want to understand that year over year, because it will dictate on what we can and cannot do in the city. And I just don't see what's the rush. If you also want to say for the record, since you said we had time, I asked in July for more meetings, for a broader budget schedule, so that we wouldn't be rushed, because I anticipated this. I understand that there's budget meetings during the day, but those budget meetings are typically, and with my understanding, are for understanding how the budget process goes, not necessarily having the department heads come in here, talk about what their needs are, anticipate what their goals are, and then put it into the budget. That's typically what.
Well, and there wasn't a budget meeting for public safety. And I applaud you for having a transparent process, but that transparency stops if we do not allow this to go through our process. You have the opportunity to have a transparent process. This whole council needs that same right given to them. It is not transparency not to have a meeting to disclose the information to the public and for discussion to happen. So if it's the will of the majority of this council to not be transparent to your constituents, the people that voted you in office, then fine.
I won't have no part of it.
But that is not transparency.
Madam
We
President,
don't
if I may.
have to rush. We have time for a meeting and time to vote for this. This is not time sensitive.
And for the record, I tried to schedule a meeting prior to this meeting, a public safety meeting, was made aware that I wasn't the chair, but it could have stayed on the docket if that was the will of the council. So that's where we're at.
I'm not even really sure where to start, but I do want to make it clear that we are prepared to answer any and all questions tonight. We've actually invited our lawyers who helped us negotiate this deal, Brad Boswell from Faegre Drinker, as well as Amber Finley, our corporation counsel. We have union representatives on hand, and of course, we're here as well. So we came in tonight prepared to answer any and all questions. We remain prepared to do so. If this gets referred to committee, we will happily join you at committee to answer these questions.
Yeah, because we haven't even seen the presentation. We haven't even seen the full financial impact of the changes that we're being asked to approve. We always get a presentation that highlights the major changes from the previous contract to this contract, the financial implication of every change that's on there. Nothing's been even said to us, except for the fact that, congratulations, we had a transparent budget process, and it was the greatest, and that's it. That's the only thing that's been presented to us right now. So what are we voting on, that?
Madam President, if I could interject one thing. Sitting here before the meeting started, I overheard a resident walk up here and ask where all of the copies of the resolutions and proposals that we're looking at here today. I mean, nobody out there has seen any of this and knows what it is that, that's before us right now. And I would like the opportunity to hear from my constituents. And they were told, or this resident was told that it's the way it's been, that they would go for a public information request. Well, that isn't the way it's been. It may be the way it is now, but this stuff has always been published prior to a meeting, and it's always been put on that table for citizens to review it and then get with us and let us know what they think.
So since you're ready to answer questions, can I go ahead and answer some questions that I would put into committee? And so I'm going to go ahead and open it up. This is from my constituent, text message. Hello. It's her name. I'll give it to you. Her name is Angelica Weather. I am a current board member of the Fall Creek Softball and Baseball. Every year, Lawrence hosts hundreds of kids to play baseball, softball, from T-ball 3 years old to 15 years old. Lawrence Community Park off of Franklin Road houses baseball diamonds, soccer fields, and skate parks, a playground, concession stands, and much more. Lawrence Community Baseball Park has not always been our home. We moved from Lee Road Park location close to 5 years ago, leaving most of our equipment and even an indoor training facility behind. It was a state-of-the-art ballpark dedicated to baseball lovers all across Lawrence and Central Indiana. For our organization and most recent location to continue to provide the community and the players and families who have invested in us each year the same quality we once had, we would like to ask for some help with the items of lights at the baseball community field, covers for the dugouts, scoreboards and batting cages moved from Lee Road to Franklin Road, community park and a PA system. Thank you so much for taking the time to read our request, and we will continue to provide. So when this person called me, I said, hey, do an email, make your request. When the Parks Department head comes up, starts talking about his goals and what they're looking at, I'm then going to present and say, hey, what's going on over here? But I've never had that opportunity to see if we could, if there's something that could be done before the meeting today, because I saw this on the deal, I hope that she's tagging in because I said I think this is going to, we're going to start maybe hopefully today. We have a budget presentation. I thought maybe the department's head was going to be an introduction of department heads tonight to talk about their budgets and goals. I don't know. That's what I thought. So I was waiting, and this email I've been back and forth was August 29th. So I've just been waiting for the process to come through. So there again, do we have money in the budget to do this with the kids over at the baseball field?
Counselor, I'm here to speak about the CBA with the FOP at this moment, so I don't have that answer off the top of my head for you, but I'm sure that our Parks Director will get that at the appropriate time.
Right, but it's all part, but I'm saying if you're talking about the CPA, when I'm supposed to talk to the parks guy? But see, I'm saying it's all the same in the same chain.
I understand, and our department heads, and I respect and appreciate that you might want this to be a public answer for a public citizen, right? But our Parks Department, as well as any department heads, are always accessible to the council via Leandre Level, our Deputy Chief of Staff, who will work overtime and does work overtime
So I guess I'm used
to get those questions answered. So as I said, I respect and appreciate your desire to have this answered in a public forum, and we'll certainly do.
Well, no, before I thought we were having a committee meeting where we would talk about the park and what we're doing and what's going on, just no different than we talk very highly about the Leroy Park being transferred, that used to be cathedrals, we sold, all that kind of conversation, right? So I'm just saying, now, I could cut that, and so let me ask you this. Can you please explain to me the changes that were made in the vacation time related to the fire and related to the police department and how those changes have come and how we're going to sustain that moving forward?
Yes, sir, absolutely. And I invite our Council Brad Boswell to join me up here to answer more of these specific questions. Thank you, Brad.
Thanks, Zach. Members of the council, hello, my name is Brad Boswell. I represented the administration during the negotiations. I'm an attorney at Fager Drinker. So, Counselor, if you could specify your question a little bit further.
Just explain to me the whole changes, since we're just explain it to me.
So specifically, vacation time was listed in a city ordinance on how you manage that. Previously, prior to 2019, members that had joined prior to that were getting all their vacation time up front. They could roll it over.
We're grandfathered in.
That's
correct. We made the change.
So you guys made a change, and so everyone that was hired after 2019, you had different rules. At that point in time, you put in caps, and the vacation time was earned month to month instead of just being allocated all up front. One of the things that was requested in the union's proposal was to roll back to the pre-2019 language for everybody, so that everybody could get it all up front and everybody just had unlimited rollover. That was something that was negotiated throughout the process. The union did, I thought, a good job of explaining some of the operational considerations.
Explain that to me, please.
One of the things that they talked about, and I would invite Brandon to explain further, but one of the things that they mentioned was operationally for them when they're planning out their shifts and their schedules, that they need to sort of have that vacation time allocated at the beginning of the year so that they could properly plan their shifts over time. Whereas if they were earning it month to month, that became difficult for them to manage. So that was the part about when they got it. The items about how much was rolling over, that was obviously an economic consideration. They wanted to have more vacation time. What we looked at was if we adjusted the caps, but then simultaneously provided a way for them to convert that rollover time into other payments, so it just wasn't ballooning into, when you retire or you leave, you have all this unused vacation time and it gets paid out. The union, to their credit, both of them said that's unfair to the city. We're creating these liabilities that the administration has to come and get paid out for, right? So what they proposed, and we sort of worked through this and we came to something that made sense, was they could convert that unused vacation time into other payments along the way. So you could convert it into a retirement contribution. You could convert it into something that got you paid.
Can
Yes.
I ask you this?
Yeah.
When you just used the example of converting it into a retirement,
Right.
I want to make sure I'm following. Isn't that still cash out of the city's coffers?
Yes.
And placed into the retirement account? So what is the difference of me paying him or her a 40-hour paycheck or the equivalent of what that money is into their 401k or 50, whatever it's called?
There's two significant differences.
Okay.
The first one is that you can pay it in small amounts over time. So rather than waiting till someone leaves and all of a sudden you owe them hundreds of thousands of dollars, you can pay them in small increments over time so that you don't have these really large payouts at the end of the line.
Is it after they leave, are we still paying out?
If they have an unused balance, yes, there would be a payout. The idea here is that you reduce what that
I
unused
mean, the
balance
overtime
is.
portion, does that happen after retirement?
No, it happens as you go. So if I have, I believe in this case, it's 40 hours over 40. So if I have over 40 hours banked, I can convert up to 40 hours of that into this retirement plan so that then the city can take that and pay it today and put it into this account rather than letting it continue to balloon
Is there a
to
cap
infinity.
to how far it can balloon to?
No, we
What
have.
stops it from changing?
Because they can get that put into these retirement accounts.
What makes them
And
do it, though? I'm saying, what keeps you from,
They have a mechanism where they say, oh, I have this building up, I want to convert it into this
you
account.
say, I want to, I'm asking what, I'm only coming from.
Yeah, you're asking like what their motivation would be?
It's only from the protection of the city.
Understand.
Not from the place of the
Understand.
officer at the time.
I understand,
okay?
yeah, sorry.
No.
Right, yeah. So one of the changes that we did make too is that when we set up what's called a PEP account, which is kind of like an HSA for retirees. So you can also roll it into not just this 457 retirement account. You can also put it into this retiree health savings account. And when we did that, we do have caps in place. So you can still only roll over so much. So when you change that in 2019, you put caps in place on how much could roll over. We modified the caps to slightly increase them. So you can roll over more, but when you convert, it's 2-to-1 on the conversion. So if I have 2 hours right here that like is gonna keep ballooning, right, up to the cap for the payout, I could convert it today.
You got me confused, so because you just said there was no cap, so.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. So the pre-2019, you still don't have the caps because those folks were grandfathered in.
Right.
Then you changed it. And then what we've proposed here is that the post-2019 people do still have caps, but they and the pre-2019 people can start converting their unused balances into these other accounts.
Do we have any forecast based on the volume of officers that we have? And this is true for fire as well.
Right.
And I know before, so does fire and the police have the same vacation time?
Yes.
So
Well, they earn it different, like their
Right.
shifts are different.
And it's Kelly days and nothing. I want to make sure, so we're talking about police
Yeah.
and then we're going to bring them up.
Yeah.
So now, with the police, in the years of the officers that we have in the department, if you look at the roll call of the officers, has there been any financial analysis to show or forecast what future impact this would have? Because what happened is, you gotta understand, I was on the back end of making that decision in 19, and believe me, I can't recall all the numbers, but there's some people in the room that were here in 19 that are union reps today that agreed to the change in 19.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't that long ago,
Yeah.
right? So we're trying to figure out 100%. So that's why I'm asking these kind of analytical type, these deeper analysis questions, so I can feel good about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one other, just to piggyback, if it's okay, Madam President,
Yes.
is that, I personally would be interested in sort of what Counselor Giles is saying. What is the financial risk of putting this back, okay? Because they can or could is not, they're required to, right? So some of these are decisions that the individual can make or may decide that they just want to build up their stuff, right? So I would want to know if, worst case scenario, I'm going the vacation route. What is the financial impact to the budget? 5, 6, we know this isn't a short term. This isn't anything we're going to see in 2, 3, 4 years. This is something we would see in 7, 8, 9, 10 years, right? So I would want to know what that is.
Well, I'm going to say one thing. I'm going to let Brandon speak to it more specifically about the way I think it would be utilized. But admittedly, it is difficult to do an accounting analysis based on like what some individual may or may not.
Yeah, so you take the worst case scenario from a budget perspective.
Right, and that's totally fair. I think when we were meeting with them, they provided us enough sort of practical guidance on this is how it's intended to be used, that like we could start to understand very clearly that like regardless of what that looks like, it still will be cheaper to have this mechanism to convert this over time because A, you can pay it out in smaller chunks, and B, it's cheaper to pay it today than it is to pay it.
So I would want you to show me that.
Okay.
Right?
I mean, that's just basic like accounting. $1 a day is.
Yeah, but put it on paper.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right, we can talk about that. Brandon, you want to?
And my controller, I mean, who's cooking, who's doing the books? You, him, or the controller? Because I'm talking about money now.
Right, certainly that's a question for Humphrey in the controller's office. I'm trying to explain.
And that's why I wanted it to go to Finance Committee.
What I'm trying to tell you is the way that we discussed it within the terms of the negotiation. Brandon, you want to talk about your guys' practical?
Yeah, I was just going to explain kind of why we are addressing this particular issue. We certainly agree as a union that that was an issue, and the council at the time changed it to try to address that. I think there were some unforeseen consequences to that took time to play out for us to see as public safety. One of those being the ability for our members to enroll in the hardship leave. As it pertains to sick time, it's kind of a use it or lose it, and it requires a buy-in. So these new members that were on the 2019 time weren't able to build up that time to be able to invest and enroll in that program. The second issue that we faced is the changing dynamic of the type of individuals that are entering the workforce and what is important to them. And what I'm finding is this generation of workers, what is important to them is their time off. And so what has been hard not only to sell to keep people here, and I'll be frank, we have lost people just because of this specific clause.
I thought our numbers were up at the highest they've been in a decade.
Yeah, I said we've lost people. I didn't say we haven't replaced them.
Oh, well.
Yeah, so I'm just saying we've
So
lost people
attrition
because
is
of
up.
this. So
Attrition is up. Okay.
basically, it's also been very difficult to manage somebody that is wanting to take a vacation because you're earning it month to month. So if you want to take a week-long vacation, which for officers that work the street, you need to take off 6 days, you would need to work 6 months before you get that time. So we're not asking for an increase in the amount of hours, vacation hours that the individuals are getting. Those are staying the same. What we're asking for is for the vacation hours to be front-loaded. And actually with the PEP account, which is specifically used per law and regulations, is it's used to pay insurance premiums when the officer would retire. And so that mechanism, what it now does is it changed for everybody, not just the pre-2019 or the post-2019 people. It now does not allow the carryover of vacation hours. In the contract, you'll see that the city has agreed to buy back, I believe it's 40 hours for us of vacation time, which would then be converted and invested into our PEP account. So essentially, our officers now pre-2019 can carry over 102 hours of vacation. This new agreement, we would no longer be able to do that. You would either A, burn your time down in that given year, or B, leave 40 hours in the bank, which then the city would be able to buy back and invest into that PEP account. So we certainly did not want to create a financial situation for the city, which is exactly why this went into place. We wanted to be able to find a good balance to be able to address the unfunded liability in the amount of time that builds up to make it at a reasonable amount, but also have a way to pay it out over time so that these people are not getting these big banks like we've seen in the past, and then you're having these large payouts.
Well, it's just really difficult for me because I was the finance chair in 19. I worked very closely with Jason Fenwick that you guys all loved and applauded. And I remember him being really adamant to me about we had to do this for the long-term security of this city. But I get where you're at. The next line of questions that I have based upon the group of people that we have, right? So we were grandfathered into 2019, right? So the next question that I would have if we had this through committee and had this stuff written down where I can dig in and get my thoughts, how many of the, we got 60 officers, what is it? Of the officers that are on staff, I don't know the exact number, how many were hired prior to 2019? How many does this change address? Okay? And then how many of our officers are qualified for retirement? Not that they're going to retire, but they're qualified for retirement, right? Because that also, I noticed too, we've increased the starting pay of a first-year officer. I learned last time through this, right, that the first-year officer pay is the base pay retirement for an officer. Am I saying anything wrong? I want to make sure, am I wrong or right?
So like the first year is what we call probationary pay. What I think you're referring to is just a terminology thing. It's a first-class patrol officer. And yes, that is a component of what the retirement is based off of that and the figure of your seniority. Or not seniority, your longevity. Those two figures are added together, and that's what makes our, what we call the certified salary.
I 100% agree with you that that younger people today are more interested in time off. To the point, I just left a meeting earlier today where a gentleman in a very large business is taking his model from salary to making some people hourly, and he's found that the employee is happier working 30 hours a week than the salary 40. I swear that was a conversation today. So I do respect that. I also had an incident, for those, I keep it real, for those that know I ride a motorcycle, I park my motorcycle in a fire lane at a place I go to all the time. Police officer pulled up on me and told me and my buddies to move our bikes. We kind of barked at him a little bit because we know the owner of the building. He turns around and tells me that he's a arson police officer that now is riding in a car on the beat because IMPD is so understaffed that some of their tenured desk guys are now out working in the car, okay? So he didn't know I was a councilman, right? But here's where I'm going with that. You started off by saying to me that you had to look at different ways to recruit. And is it fair, I don't know if it's true, fact, is IMPD the highest paid police department in Marion County? Yeah? And we base all parity off of that. And I've been a part of when we were way off and we weren't even close to parity, and we made some significant jumps to get to parity. And I'm now sitting here saying we're parity and they still ain't recruiting at the levels that they want to be at. You know what I mean? And we are, so I don't know if I necessarily equate that money is necessarily the number one tool to recruiting these young people to work. If I'm hearing that the guy that pays the most is
At 40,
understaffed.
he's at 46% attrition.
I would say a couple things to that, Councilman, and I would let Brandon weigh in too. I think your assertion that just your base salary is not the only driving factor is very true. And I think they would tell you, and I'd welcome him to explain some of the non-salary based benefits that make Lawrence more attractive. At the same time, I think it's important to have some step back and have a little bit of maybe 30,000 foot view on the nature of labor agreements in the county right now. So as you may be aware, the city of Indianapolis is engaged in union agreements at the moment. The fire one is particularly heavy at the moment. There's getting ready to be another one that's going on in Wayne Township. And so there is some consideration to the timing of all of these things and when it makes sense for the city, right? And we were fortunate in this case to, I think, be thoughtful about this and just looking at what is going on in Lawrence without getting drug into all of those other, the dynamics of those other negotiations, which was very helpful. But you're certainly right. It's not just about the money. But in this case, I think we can talk about some of those items, but a lot of the negotiations were based on non-fiscal issues that they
You just
cared
said at
about.
this point, we could talk about the money. So are you ready you said you guys were ready to present and answer any questions.
Right.
So do you have some formal presentations about the money? Because we got a resolution. She called for a motion to vote on this tonight. And I'm sure it was very planned because it was planned.
Specifically, I invited questions about the non-fiscal items, but, anything that's in here that you have a question about, certainly one of us is happy to talk.
Is the commitment to equipment, when we talk about the commitment to equipment, let's talk about that in the comparison of what we're doing with our equipment budget compared to that. But anyway, let's not jump too far, but these are all the questions that I had tonight. And I called for a committee meeting, so I wouldn't call your meeting with all of this, but unfortunately, this is where we're at.
Can I interject one thing real quick? Is the goal of the administration for us to pass all these tonight? Because if we are, we're going to be here a long time.
That's the prerogative of Madam President, but I do not believe that is the plan, so to speak. I believe many of these will be referred to committee, but of course, that's the prerogative of the president and the council.
It's still gonna be asked. I asked for it to come to committee before we started this.
Yeah, why can't we not just do what he asked?
Madam President, I
Yes.
just wanted to comment on the financial impact that has been brought up a few times here regarding the CBA. I just want to explain the process on how the financials were decided with regards to the CBA. Baker Tilly and myself worked very closely. So with regards to the vacation, and we do have those financials, we did a projection from 2024 through 2028. And what happened is we did projections based on the base salary that they were asking. There were some items like the conversion of the vacation time, hardship, that do have financial impact that are not necessarily quantifiable, but we did as the best that we could to try and quantify them. And we did add those to their base salary and their supplies and all the line items, and did a projection now through 2028. And I would like to tell you, and we do have that presentation. I just wasn't prepared to bring it before you today.
So thank you for that. And that, it's prudent that we see that. And for any counselor that would make, this in the budget is the most important thing we're going to do in 2024. And I am confident that Mayor Whitfield's quest to be transparent needs to be carried through to this council. It needs to apply to every step of this process. And to take a vote, not even understanding what you're voting on and how it impacts the budget, and we haven't even gotten the budget presentation yet, is irresponsible.
Clearly, I'd just like to reiterate that that was not the intention.
I know, not of you. I'm talking to my peers. I'm talking directly to my peers, many of which who are new and may not know that. But that is reckless, irresponsible, and unjust to our constituents.
Thank you, Controller. And I would say thank you to the counselors that spoke this evening. You spoke very well, and you have enlightened me. You've given me a lot of understanding of the history. The majority of us are new, and you shared things with us that we did not know, at least I didn't know. And I will take your recommendation to refer this to the Finance Committee.
Thank you.
And we will make sure that this committee meets as soon as possible so we can get questions answered and we can then proceed. Okay?
Madam President, with this finance committee meeting, could it be the council of the whole instead of just the finance committee?
It could.
In interest of time,
It could. It
I
could.
think that would be a great idea.
Thank you for that.
Suggestion.
Any other comments on this one? So this resolution number 8, 2024 has been referred to the committee as a whole. Next, we will have resolution number 9, 2024. Madam Clerk, would you please read the title of the resolution into record?
Resolution number 9, 2024, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Lawrence, Indiana concerning approval of collective bargaining agreement between the City of Lawrence and the Lawrence Professional Firefighters Association, Local 416, effective January 1, 2025.
Thank you, Chief of Staff, Zach Brown.
Thank you, Madam President. I have a feeling this won't take quite as long. Once again, my name is Zachary Brown, 11827 Rossmore Drive here in Lawrence. Serve as the Mayor's Chief of Staff. I'm very happy to be here before you once again to speak on the contract agreement between the Whitfield administration and our brave men and women of the Lawrence Fire Department. This contract was shared with you as well, the members of the Lawrence Common Council, via email last week. After a negotiation process where we worked in collaboration with the union representatives of the Firefighters Union on things such as pay, benefits, and other services, I'm happy to report that we have come to an agreement which has been passed unanimously by the voting members of the Firefighters Union Local 416. This contract will ensure that the great work on our fire department will continue in the city of Lawrence, granting our firefighters more competitive pay with surrounding departments, health and wellness checks they need to stay job ready, and the benefits they need so they can sleep well knowing their families are protected while they literally run into fires to protect ours. This contract also grants a pay raise of 5% in 2025 with successive 3% pay raises in 26, 27, and 28 to our Lawrence firefighters. Additionally, we made updates to how accrued time can be banked and used, how technical and specialty positions within the department are compensated, and how mental health services are provided. As I stated, the Whitfield administration is proud to present this contract to the council for full approval or referral to a committee. And with that, I'd like to now introduce Fire Union President Nick Remmel.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Madam President, councilors. Nick Remmel, the local president for Local 416 Lawrence District, also a resident of Lawrence. Let me lower this down because I'm short, sorry. I stand before you guys to discuss the recent contract negotiations within our city, a process that, as I continue to say, it was more of a collaboration than a negotiation. This time around, both the FOP and our firefighter union presented our contract needs and goals simultaneously in the same room. This joint presentation not only ensured uniformity, but also saved valuable time for our city officials and the firm of Fager Drinker. The overall collaboration between the two unions in our city was smooth, resulting in a contract that was unanimously passed by both unions. This is unprecedented and underscores the importance of this contract in keeping us competitive. Our primary goal was clear, to take care of those firefighters nearing retirement, to retain our current members by providing comparable pay to other local agencies, and to enhance our recruitment efforts. It was vital to raise our starting pay so that we can attract quality, professional, and diverse candidates. In the past, we have lost members to other departments due to pay and benefits, which cost the city money in training and development. This contract is a significant step forward in addressing these issues. I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to the city for their willingness to invest in public safety. Public safety is a cornerstone of what draws people to our city, and this contract is a testament to that commitment. To FOP President Brandon Raftery, thank you for your team's diligence in analyzing data and helping us drive public safety forward. To our Local 416 negotiation team, your countless hours creating spreadsheets and innovating our negotiation process have been invaluable. I hope we can continue this positive and cohesive way of doing business. To the firm of Fager Drinker, specifically Brad Boswell and Tim Moriarty, I appreciate your professionalism and advice in helping us to reach our goals. To the city's attorney, Amber Finley, thank you for ensuring the city's legal interests were protected and for facilitating the process with your expertise. Controller Humphrey Nagila, I appreciate your willingness to handle numerous requests and provide timely responses. To Ms. Tasha Ray, your quick responses and thorough information gathering were vital to our efforts. All of these people answered emails to us within hours of sending them. Most of all, I'd like to thank Chief of Staff Zach Brown. Your diplomatic approach and responsiveness have been a breath of fresh air. From the first time we opened our binders, you made us feel heard and understood. Your quick responses to texts, emails, and calls, and your ability to represent both the city and our departments have been crucial. Your hard work and dedication have been an instrument to reaching this agreement. Lastly, I want to thank Mayor Deborah Whitfield. Mayor Whitfield, you have surrounded yourself with true professionals who care about people. Transitioning to the role of mayor is no small feat, and you have done so with transparency and dedication. You see the people behind these jobs and understand their sacrifices. You support the leadership you have. Sorry, let me rewind. Your support and leadership have been instrumental in this process. You are the kind of mayor who checks on our members after they've been hurt, and you have always been transparent and responsive. Never have we asked for a number that we haven't gotten, and thank you to Mayor Whitfield. In closing, to the City Council, thank you for taking the time to review our contracts. Our goal is to take care of those who have served our city and are nearing the end of their careers, to retain our current members, and to recruit new, qualified, and diverse candidates. This contract is a significant step in achieving those goals for the City of Lawrence. I also want to extend a special thanks to all of our police officers and firefighters who diligently work to ensure the safety of our city. Your dedication and hard work do not go unnoticed, and we are grateful for your service. Thank you all for your time and attention this evening. Your willingness to invest in public safety is greatly appreciated, and I look forward to continuing our work together to make this city a safer and better place for everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments from the councilors?
Madam President,
Yes, sir.
Nick, if I ask you a real quick question, is fire department fully staffed to where you think we need to be, and the paramedics as well?
Yes, so right now we are fully staffed. We have one that's coming out on the street this week. We are on the top end, so we have a lot of older firefighters, more experienced, seasoned, I guess is the better word I should say. But they're nearing the end of their career. So this contract, we could see an opportunity for us to really capitalize on recruitment of those professional and quality and diverse candidates. So right now we are fully staffed, but again, in this next 4 years, there's quite a few people who could retire, and this is an opportunity for us to reach out and really dig down and get some diverse candidates.
Can you tell me what the comparison is to what this proposal is here as the Indianapolis is currently?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
What the new, or what is proposed for the fireman's pay is, how is it compared to Indianapolis?
So that's, right now, we are close, but they're also in contract negotiations. So all we're doing right now is anticipating what they're gonna get.
Okay.
Unfortunately, they keep their stuff pretty tight-lipped, so we're anticipating. We've heard rumors, but they're just rumors, don't take those as facts. So we believe that this contract will drive us forward and really put us on the map for a destination place for people to work.
So you believe we're at parity now, and this contract would keep us at parity?
I wouldn't say we're at parity. We're still behind. I think we are of the departments, I think we're the fourth lowest right now. I mean, we're fourth from the top. And I think this kind of puts us right in that 2-3 range. Pike is the highest paid right now. Again, like he said,
Pike, Wayne, Indianapolis.
again, like he said, Wayne's in contract negotiations currently, and so is Indianapolis. So again, these are all anticipating their pay raises.
We're more than Speedway, right?
Yes. No, not currently, we are not. Like, our salary is not higher than Speedway's.
No. Okay.
Pension base is, yes.
Or what?
Our pension base is.
Pension basis. How about Greenwood?
I don't have those numbers in front of me.
I know those were compared to, before when we did comparison, those were cities that we
Yeah,
chose.
I just don't have their numbers in front of me. I couldn't.
Chicago might have been one we chose too in the past, if I'm
I
not
couldn't speak factual with that. I think we're kind of in the realm, in the right realm, with cities like Greenwood. But we also do, I think, twice to 3 times as many runs as they do, so.
So, Madam Chair, I guess this is, so will you, I guess the question I have for you is, will you be assigning this to the finance as well, or?
As a whole.
Committee as a whole, I'm sorry, or, because if we're gonna find a committee as a whole, there's no reason for me to.
Yes, would
Ask questions, yeah.
refer this to committee as a whole.
Did you, while I'm up here, did you have a question specific about Kelly Days?
I do, but I want to dig into it a little deeper and have a deeper understanding in comparison. Let's just say this, for the committee of the whole meeting, what I want to know is, just like I asked the police department, I don't want to go back to where we were before 2019, right? And you were part of that.
I was not our local, I started in 2020.
You were here then?
I was
He worked
around,
here.
but I
It was Andy and
correct,
and the
Andy
one.
and Andy.
He was a voting
Yeah.
member.
Right, yeah, it was Andy, it was, God bless him, you know, it's going, but, so I don't, you know, it was so, I mean, you gotta remember, you know, for some of those who weren't here, but those of us who were here, it was a really, really big deal.
Yeah, so
Right.
real quick, just so everybody in the audience understands, we don't want to, what they're speaking about is there is an unfunded liability as we accrue time, right? It's time that we're accruing. And kind of recapping on what they said earlier, we cost less right now than we will in 4 years. Obviously, with pay raises, our pay rates go up, and as those payouts come out, they're going to be more expensive in 4 years, right? So what we don't want to do is add to the city's unfunded liability. We want to help the city out because we want to see the city succeed. So what we proposed was to have things built in like the buyout program, the time buyout, which adds money to your PEP. Those things are rewarding that employee who's always showing up for work, who's capping out, they're maxing out their sick time, right? They're still coming into work. Once it's maxed out, what are you going to do? Are you going to just start calling in? Or are you going to? So those are the questions that we were given by our members. So we don't want people to call in. We want to keep overtime down, right? That saves the city money because you pay that out time and a half, right? Because it's overtime. So we want to try to keep those costs down. So we're trying to encourage people to do these buyouts. So these investments into their PEP so that we're paying at the current rate.
I'm so confused on, how can you say you're keeping expense down if you're opening the gate? Because before it had it where, I mean, from you guys, you know, I'm from the city perspective, not an employee perspective. So from a city's perspective, if I have the rule today that your time doesn't roll over, you either use it or you lose it. And then I say, now you can roll some of that over. We would like for you to put it in these accounts and these other things, but you don't have to.
Correct.
Right? How am I in a better position as a city? That's where I'm not attaching, like when you say we're helping you, and I'm like, how are you helping me when I'm already in control of it?
So I'll use myself as an example here. I rarely call into work, right? So I'm constantly accruing time. I'm going to max out my sick time. I will eventually hit that cap. Time other people are using, okay? So somebody like me, now I'm going to hopefully be allowed to put the 2-for-1, so I can use 2 hours into 1 hour into this PEP program, right? And that allows me to start investing in my future, right? Start investing in my retirement. As opposed to
I'm sure
call.
we still already have ways for you to invest in your retirement. I'm sure we match on perf and we do all that. You know what bothers me with that philosophy? And I'm gonna leave it at this. You guys can say what you want to say about me. Nick, the reason that I believe that you're the leader that you are, and the reason that you're at this podium, is because you're not the guy that calls out of work, right? The reason that I'm a guy that took a high school diploma and made something of myself is because I'm the guy that didn't call in to work and I became somebody. So I would imagine that a young guy that comes in the department that busts his tail, don't call into work, do the best he can, hopefully he becomes the chief. It just seems real. I want you guys to read a book called Give and Take. Givers, matchers, and takers. It just sounds like, and I know everybody, I'm just not crediting the work you do, but it's like, I hope you just can see that perspective when you guys come up here, man. I mean, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you don't always win.
I understand.
So you talk about the work ethic of the young kid that says he doesn't want to come to work, right? We're talking about that. Well, part of that is older folks. I think we're always keeping score, and we're showing the younger people sometimes that they think there's nothing good in just good work in itself. I believe that our city will reward young people who give us more than what we can give them. But I'm so afraid that if we just continue to give so much, we won't have much of a city. Because you look at the budget pie. You see how thin the other selections are when you guys look at the budget pie? And that's my concern.
Okay.
And I'll rest it.
Okay.
Anybody have anything else? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Okay. Next, under new business, resolution number 10, 2024. Madam Clerk, would you please read the title of the resolution into record?
Resolution number 10, 2024, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Lawrence, Indiana concerning approval of transfer of funds.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. On behalf of the Common Council, I am referring resolution number 10, 2024 to the Committee of the Whole for consideration. Next, we will have proposal number 12, 2024. Madam Clerk, please read the title.
Proposal number 12, 2024, an ordinance fixing salaries of appointed officers and employees of the Police Department and the Fire Department for the year 2025.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. On behalf of the Common Council, I am referring proposal number 12, 2024 to the Committee of the Whole for consideration. Next, we will have proposal number 13, 2024. Madam Clerk, would you please read the title into record?
Proposal number 13, 2024, an ordinance establishing compensation for elected officials for the City of Lawrence, Indiana for the year 2025 and providing a time when the same shall take effect.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. On behalf of the Common Council, I am referring proposal number 13, 2024 to the Committee of the Whole for consideration. Next, we will have proposal number 14, 2024. Madam Clerk, please read the title into record.
Proposal number 14, 2024, an ordinance fixing salaries of appointed officers and employees of the City of Lawrence, Indiana for the year 2025.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. On behalf of the Common Council, I am referring proposal number 14, 2024 to the Committee of the Whole for consideration. Next, we will have proposal number 15, 2024. Madam Clerk, would you please read the title of the proposal into record?
Proposal number 15, 2024, an additional appropriation ordinance for the year 2024, public hearing.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This proposal also has an advertised public hearing that has been noticed for tonight's meeting. I will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone from the public with any comments? If so, then please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. Madam Clerk, are there any comments from the public on the team chat?
No.
Okay, I will now close the public hearing. On behalf of the Common Council, I am referring proposal number 15 to the Committee of the Whole for consideration. Next on the agenda under new business, proposal number 16, 2024. Madam Clerk, would you please read the title into record?
Proposal number 16, 2024, ordinance for appropriations and tax rates for the year 2025. Public hearing.
I understand that Mr. Najilla from the Controller's Office has a presentation to make on the budget overview. I will prefer that councilors ask questions after the Controller has completed his presentation. Also, councilors, please note that if you have any questions relating to the Utility Service Board, Redevelopment Commission, or the Fort Harrison Reuse Authority, we may need to take those questions under advisement tonight to get responses from others who may not be present tonight to answer those questions. Mr. Najilla.
Good evening, council members again. Name is Humphrey Nagila, and I'm the City Controller. I'm pleased to stand before you tonight to present the 2025 City of Lawrence proposed budget. I will request that the City Clerk assist me with the slides behind you, just because I don't have the clicker. Before you, you also have the same PowerPoint slides. They're in hard copy, just to help you with the turning. You also have the monthly financials for you for the first 6 months. Like I stated earlier on, that's the basis that we used to make the projections for the 2025 budget, as well as the budget book. Page 1.
Try pushing the space bar.
In this one,
Try the space bar.
what are you showing us?
Oh, yeah. I'm just looking at the actual.
I'm gonna go all the way to the first
Now
page.
push the
please.
back button, the arrow.
So we'll start off by going through the agenda. The agenda for this presentation will be to provide a citywide overview. Then we'll also talk a little bit about the major funds. You can go to the next one. So the slide before you right now is the 2025 budget overview by fund. This has two sections, which are the major funds and that the DLGF reviews and the home rule funds. So the funds before you are the adopted funds by the DLGF, and they do oversight those. The next slide would be the home ruled funds. So the EMS, the continuing education for police, the public safety tax, administrative services, technology, and garage, those are basically our funds that we budget for but are not reviewed by the DLGF. Next one, please. In total, the 2025 proposed budget is $49,998,000, with 80% of that being the general fund, and you will see that in the next chart, while next largest percentages are other operating funds. For the general fund, our revenue sources come from property taxes, which constitute about 45% of the general fund's revenue, with our local income tax projecting at about 21%. Then our next largest source of revenue is the charges for services, which are about 13%. Next slide. Actually, if you want to go back real quick.
Go back.
And as you can see, our general fund projections for revenue for 2025 is $28.1 million. Now you can go to the next slide. So now we can also look at how those funds are going to be broken down by looking at specific departments and their expenditures. As you can see, the largest expenditure is public safety, which includes the police, fire, and communications at 75.4%. The next largest expenditure is trash collection at 9%, which is a slight increase from 2024 because of the trash sanitation changes that we made this year. And then about 6% for Parks Department, 4.8% for mayors, and 3.5% for DPW, which is code enforcement and permitting. So in total, the general fund proposal for 2025 is $28.1 million. And with this, we are able to present a balanced general fund budget for 2025, as well as maintain our 20% operating reserve. Next slide, please. The next slide is a chart showing our general fund operating balances, balance comparisons, with the red line indicating our operating reserve target. And as you can see, we will be above that target and are projecting to maintain a cash balance of about $8 million in 2025. Now looking at, next slide please, sorry. Now looking at specific departments, I just picked a couple. In the interest of time, we can look at the street departments, for instance. This is primarily funded by the gas tax, and this money goes to our local roads and streets fund, as well as the motor vehicle and highway funds. So in total, we can combine the gas tax receipts to provide the comparison, and that's what the chart is basically showing. Next slide, please. Actually, you might go back one real quick. I just want to make a comment on the motor vehicle highway fund. As you can see, around 2020, the year 2020, we had a decline in revenues, obviously due to the pandemic, but since then it's steadily been rising to target the $4 million, $5 million range. So that's a fund that's really healthy. And like I said, it's primarily being funded by the gas tax and gets split between the local streets and the streets and the motor vehicle fund. So for the MVH fund, we have a proposal to spend around $3.3 million out of those funds. That should still leave us in a healthy reserves for that fund. And then finally, I just want to talk a little bit about the public safety tax. As you all know, this fund continues to be a challenge overall because the revenues, next slide please, I'm sorry. This fund continues to be a major challenge overall because the revenues have remained the same while the expenditures continue to rise each year. So we do have a proposal for 2025 to use about $660,000 of the reserves towards this fund, the public safety fund. And this is something that we have always come before you in the past to request. And we also use other mechanisms, which we tried as much as we could in the 2025 budget to shift around between the general fund and the cumulative development fund as well. And that's basically the high-level overview of the 2025 proposed budget. You could go to the next slide. And the controller may be contacted. The contact is up there if you have any questions or any further discussions that's required. The controller will be happy to provide those.
Madam President, if I may, quick question.
Yes, we're going to go to, oh, go ahead, yes.
Something that I haven't heard that I was curious about, what about the ARP money?
The ARP money has already been appropriated. We did come before you, I believe, sometime in June, for 5.6 million that was unappropriated, and that was approved by the council.
So we've already spent it, and
We have not spent it all, but we are scheduled by statute, we are required to encumber it by December of 2024 and spend it by December of 2025.
Right.
So we do.
So it's all been spoken for.
Correct.
And I take it, the park, or the parking lot for Lawrence Park wasn't included in any of that?
I don't believe we had that discussion for the Lawrence Park parking lot. I'm not sure which parking lot you're referring to.
Yeah, it was on, well, a year ago, it was like $1 million, but, for a new parking lot. But anyway, someone asked me about it, and I just wanted to follow up. Thank you.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
Any other questions, councilors?
I do have.
Yes, Counselor.
Looking at the revenue, I want to make sure I understand the graph correctly, so when I'm studying this a little further, I want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. When I look at this public safety tax, I support a public safety tax increase. And so I want to make sure I understand this correctly. We have the broken line is that we have $231,000 or $791,000, I'm saying, now in that fund, and after we spend the 6, we'll have 231. Is that what we're saying we're having cash?
And I don't have the proposed budget book with me, but you're looking at, would you mind going back a slide, please?
I'm just making sure I understand this graph. That's what I'm doing.
Okay, and what was your question? I'm sorry.
I'm looking at the back end. So I'm looking at 24 projected, 25 proposed.
Correct.
And I'm looking at the cash flow broken line here. And so at 24 projected, it says 791,687. And then it says 25 proposed, 231. So the difference here is what you're putting into 25.
Oh, the difference, the 660 that I just referred to is basically the cash balance for 2025 budget. We did budget, if you look at your book, which I don't have before me, but I can vaguely walk you through the numbers. I believe our budget for public safety for 25 is 5 million, a little over 5 million, while the revenues that we projected coming in are about 4 million. So that
leaves
us.
Out of the public safety fund.
Out of the public safety fund, it's on the book. And so with that, obviously having that shortage, that's the 660 deficit that we would.
Right, so we're going to spend, we're going to, so what I'm looking at is we're going to bring in 4 million, right? And well, 25 proposed a little more than that, but under 4 million in 24. And then in the red, we're going to spend more than we bring in.
For public safety, that's
what I'm getting at. That's what I'm reading, right?
Correct. And like I said, because you have to factor in the inflationary costs year over year, they keep going up, but we don't have control over the revenues for public safety. So our revenues for public safety have remained consistent.
Right.
The costs keep going up. I mean, we're talking gasoline cost. We don't have control over that.
So what I'm saying, so what I'm getting at, and I'm going to leave it alone and we'll go to meeting, is this. I just want to make sure I'm leaving this conclusion. So a larger portion, I want to know, is the margin of money that's going into the public safety budget, is the percentage increasing from the cash that it takes out of the general fund?
Not sure I understand your question.
Okay. Your proposed budget, I got the book, but your proposed budget for public safety is X amount of money.
Right.
And then you're getting $4 million from
the state.
From the state, from this.
Yep,
right?
Local income tax.
I guess the comparison that I need to flip and quick is to know how much of the public safety budget's coming out of the general fund money that can go anywhere? Because the public safety money can only go to the public safety.
Correct.
Right?
That's
General fund money can go anywhere.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So what I would love, ideally, if it was an ideal world, our public safety budget would mirror very closely to the public safety fund. I know that's not true, so I want to know how much are we pulling out of the general fund to fund it, and is that portion coming out of the general fund to make the public safety whole, is that increasing? And if that's a pattern of increase, and then you got me looking at a new increased collective bargaining agreement, I have less money in the general fund now for the playground equipment at the park or the curb. So you see how the collective bargaining, how it all connects in to how we budget and prioritize our budgets for the city. So that's why I want to make sure that all of that is clear and written in comparison. So as some of my constituents, things that they may want that they can't have, like the sidewalk I've been waiting on for 10 years, I have an eloquent way to explain why they can't have it. I'll say, look at those nice SUVs your police and fire have. That's why I can't reach you, wasn't it? And I can talk to them at the local Applebee's about the numbers.
So we can definitely do a projection and look at the trend on how the general fund has been supporting the public safety tax historically. That's information that I can definitely provide that. I just don't have that information as of now. But you would probably appreciate that we have always, for a long time, Controller has always come before you and requested borrowing from the reserves to be able to sustain the public safety.
Right. Then I'm going to see that the money we borrow from the utility funds public safety. I don't know. That's what I want to know.
Okay.
And Madam Chair, can I ask? And so there'll be a couple questions that I would just like to give you a heads up. You don't have to answer them right now, but in preparation for the committee of the whole meeting. One is the total revenue projection is 28.1 for 2025. Our revised 2024 budget is 28,246 as of this June report.
Right.
So does this revise 28,246, is it inclusive of the appropriation request that you're going to make? So is it going to be higher, is the question.
With the additional appropriation or the?
Yes, with the additional appropriation.
So I have not, that is not included on there currently, and I have not run the numbers with the additional appropriation.
Okay, so 28,246 is going to be a higher number. That's a yes, right? And so I'm struggling with, we're going to have less revenue in 2025 than we had in 2024. And it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out that we're going to have more expenses. So if we only have 28.1 coming in, and that's less than last year, I would just really going to have somebody tell me where we're getting this money from to do everything that we're trying to do in 2025. Because 28.1 is not going to get it. It didn't cover it for 2024. And we're going to be paying higher salaries, to your point, higher gasoline prices, higher this, everything you're saying. So I'm going to need somebody's going to really have to help me understand that. Secondly, in the 2025 budget book, and you probably have an explanation for this, but there's a lot of dashes for like 2025. And we're going to need the numbers.
Right. So I can explain to that. So for the general fund, what we did, and that's a good point you bring because I didn't mean to bring it up to the council. The council had requested $150,000 for capital, their own capital improvement. So what we did to be able to balance the budget, we took out all the capital for all the departments. And if you look at the council line, for instance, you're not going to see the $150,000. because we have alternative funding. We have the GEO bond that you approved, and that would be, that would be a good use for that. So because we needed to get the budget balanced, and we did have alternative funding, we took some of those out, and that's why you're seeing a lot of dashes on there. We also took some of the public safety expenses and moved them to ARP funding, because the ARP funding needs to be appropriated, not appropriated, I'm sorry, but encumbered by 2024 December.
Yep.
And so those are some of the reliefs that we've had on the general fund for 2025.
So I would want to make sure that what we've signed off and agreed to, because we've passed a resolution on the ARP on how those funds can be spent, so we can't just willy-nilly spend them however and wherever we want. So there will need to be full alignment with what we signed off on and how we're using those funds, right? Just federally, statutorily, right? And then two, I think it's fine that we did that, but we need an accounting of it, right? Of capital that was pulled out, how much and where it's going, how much we've pulled out that is going to be, captured under our ARP funds. And I did notice that it's not just capital. So if you review it yourself and there's things that's not capital, I would want to know what those are and how those are being accounted for, because what I don't want to see at this time next year is we're going to be doing some significant approval of some appropriation requests because, we presented a balanced budget, but we knew we were $5 million too short. Like, that will not be something that I would think anybody would be interested in. And then thirdly, my last point is, can you take a look at the projected overtime for 2025? Because I'm struggling with that a little bit. And based on where we are just in the 6 months and based on what's being projected in 2025, I'm not seeing, what are we doing differently? Are we freezing OT? Are we doing something that's going to significantly reduce it in 2025? So that's my last question. So thank you.
Any other comments, councilors? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This proposal also has an advertised public hearing that has been noticed for tonight's meeting. I will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone from the public with any comments? If so, please approach the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Oh, she.
Daniel Rapp, 5718 Wallingwood Drive. You asked a question about public hearings. My question is, and since I did not locate any public hearing notices being put in the newspaper, when were they actually put in the newspaper announcing that we had public hearings tonight at this city council meeting? I believe that is a requirement when you have a public hearing meeting being announced for the city council, and people have to know about it in order to show up to ask questions. So my question was there an announcement put in the paper, quote, a notice? Anybody read it? Who's responsible for putting in the notice in the paper? Or, correct me if I'm wrong, public notices, meetings don't require that. That's all I had to say about public hearing. Thank you.
I have a copy in front of me, public notice placed in the Indy Star on September the 8th, 2024.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, are there any comments on the teams?
No.
I will now close the public hearing. On behalf of the Common Council, I am referring proposal number 16 to the committee as a whole for consideration. Comments of the administration.
Thank you, councilors, I know it's been a long evening for everyone, but hearing out the administration's proposed budget along with the agreements with the collective bargaining agreements with police and fire, I want to thank the entire administration or department heads for joining us tonight and making sure that we're available for questions if you have so afterwards. I know there's a few upcoming events and a few announcements I'd like to share. Of course, this Saturday is Loggers in Lawrence. It will be another annual event we're having here in the city of Lawrence. So if you have time this Saturday from 3 to 6 at the Culture Campus, we hope you can join us. Part of our agreement, we do have a few VIP tickets left for members of the council if you want to join. If you want a pair, please let me know. I can get those to you as soon as possible. Additionally, earlier this week, one of my colleagues, Jared, who is our manager of communications, sent communications out to everyone regarding some capital improvement projects we're having here in the public assembly room. Thank you for your actions earlier this year regarding the 2024 general ordinance bond that we had, that you passed earlier this year. There's some capacity that we will be utilizing in that bond to make some renovations to the public assembly room here for technology needs to be in line with the Indiana General Assembly requirements for public live streaming and communications to the public for the fiscal body. And in part of that communication, there will be some more additional equipment that will be added over the course of the few months. I do know that we will have a vendor who will come into the city. We'll be doing those renovations and adding new items in November. So after passing up the budget and between Thanksgiving, just know for all board presidents and the council as a whole, that there may be some time where in between those dates where there may be a virtual meeting or postponement of a meeting or a relocation of a meeting in case the room is not available because of work. So all the communication and questions you need regarding the PAR technology update should be in that email from Jared. There will be some few items that will be new to the space as a whole. And then as administrator of a whole, there have been multiple spaces in this building. Particularly, we have been doing some capital improvement project, and the PAR is a priority of that, including renovation of the space as a whole. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll be happy to share more information in the future. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Next, we will have citizens' comments, and they will be limited to 3 minutes. Mr. Charles Knapp.
Evening, Madam President and City Council members. My name is Charles Knapp. My wife and I reside at 5728 Wallingwood Drive. We lived there since 1999. We've been citizens of Lawrence since 1985. I'm here today because we're having a horrible problem with traffic. Boy Scout Road was never meant to be a thoroughfare. And if you've ever traveled on it, day or night, weekday, weekend, people are traveling on it 45, 50 miles an hour, and there's some curves in there. We have accidents every once in a while. The beauty of our neighborhood right now is that we do have younger couples moving in. They have small children. They can't have them playing in their front yards. And this is not just the case for Boy Scout Road, but also Wallingwood, where I live. We have 3 or 4 young children now on that street that have just moved in or been born in the last year. So it's a 70-year-old neighborhood that's starting to see a rebirth, which is wonderful. I mean, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to see. And it's a beautiful mix of people. We think that it's what America should be. It's a mix of all sorts of people, you know, races, creeds, ages. It's a beautiful place to live. But it's so dang dangerous to be out on that street, whether you're walking your dog or just walking or have kids. And it's a shame to not be able to let them play in the front yard without fear of being hit. So we had requested, and I guess I am requesting at this point, Watson, a three-way stop sign at Boy Scout Road and Wallingwood, a three-way stop sign at Wallingwood and Boy Scout Road. And that way it kind of will help to stop that traffic from flowing through there. We either need that done or we need to change those 25-mile-an-hour signs to 52-mile-an-hour signs because that's what people seem to think the speed limit is. I set my speed control at 25. People pass me on double yellow line, it's double yellow stripe all the way through there. On Wallingwood, the speed limit sign, 25 miles an hour, is halfway down the street to 56th Street. So you don't even see it until you get halfway down the street. So there's already a sign that says slow children at play. There's space in there for a speed limit sign. The one in front of my house, halfway down the street, could be moved to that street sign. And we've requested speed bumps, which I heard Lawrence doesn't do because our snowplow people can't handle it. But I have seen some Lawrence neighborhoods that have something called speed bumps. And but anyway, they're like this wide and they do slow traffic down. We think that what people are doing now on Wallingwood is they know there's a light at 56 and Boy Scout. They bypass that by coming down Wallingwood and try and beat the light by traveling as fast as they can down our street. I would love to have police officers out there. That might be a way of solving some of your budget problems, is having the police out there handing out tickets to people that are traveling over the speed limit. And the other thing that brings to mind is the charter school on 56th Street. People are in a hurry all the time. I travel through there. If the lights are flashing for that school, it's a charter school, I go 25 miles an hour. I have school buses pass me like I'm standing still. I have police cars pass me like I'm standing still. I have fire truck. Nobody has their lights going, so it's not an emergency to get anywhere. And it shouldn't be if you leave 10 minutes earlier than you have been. There's no reason to speed through a school zone. And I think the reason I've got such a bug in my bonnet about that is that when I was a kid, I had a friend get out in the street and got hit by a car and killed immediately. We were 8 years old. It's stuck with me for 60 years that there's something needs to be done with that. So I do have to say that but I appreciate y'all listening to what I have to say on that. And I do appreciate the mayor. She's been very good and open about that. And it's been good to see such an involved and safety committed city council. So thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Rapp, Daniel Rapp.
Daniel Rapp, 5718 Wallingwood Drive. Gaslighting. I read the minutes of 21 August in reference to the new business item that dealt with the newspaper article. And why I use the word being gaslighted, I'm referring to the citizens of Lawrence, whether you call them citizens, residents, voters, or constituents. The summary here said that the comptroller clarified misinformation recently printed in a newspaper article. I even went back to the videotape, all 46 minutes of it, and listened for the word misinformation being said by anyone. It's not there. So where did the word misinformation come from? Who made it up? Better yet, what does that word misinformation actually mean? Based on my Funk and Wagnall dictionary, misinformation means that there was false, misleading information in the newspaper article. During the 21st August meeting that these minutes were supposed to summarize, I did not hear that the article had mis or false information. The article basically said that the City of Lawrence 2024 budget had a deficit of money, that they had a budget issue for 2024. there was some discussion as to how big was that deficit. I think the newspaper article had 4 million. Somebody came up with 3.8. During discussion of the meeting, I heard 6 million at the top. I heard 1 million at the bottom. I'm going to say, I don't think that article had misinformation in it, in my opinion, because in tonight's meeting on the agenda, there were 2 agenda items for the budget 2024. One to transfer funds from one area to another. The other item on the meeting was a new appropriation for 2024. So those 2 items in today's meeting simply mean that there was a budget deficit. So I'm going back and looking at these minutes, using the word misinformation is misleading. I think it falls in the category of disinformation by the administration of City of Lawrence to the public people that voted them in. That's my definition of disinformation. We're being gaslighted, thinking that they're doing a good job where the budget is not. With that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Now we will have an adjournment. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Thank you, councilors. Meeting over with. Thank you.